Welcome to the InCred podcast.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the InCred podcast. The topic that we have today is very interesting. We're going to talk about a skill that can come in handy for you, whether you are a business owner, a working professional, or even a student. We're going to be talking about the art of networking. And to speak with us on this topic, we have an entrepreneur, a social selling strategist, and a LinkedIn expert, Mr. Neeraj Shah, as the founder of the BNI India network, who took the network from merely a few entrepreneurs to over 10,000 in just a matter of years. And he's also now co founded a new venture called the Titan Masterminds. So we're very excited to have him here with us today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Neeraj Shah.
Okay, hi Neeraj. Welcome to our podcast. We are very excited to have you here and speak with us.
Bhavna, great to be here with you.
Great. So Neeraj, my first question to you is, it is very a commonly used statement that you are known by the company you keep, and that is so true in every walk of life. So you tell me, how does networking, knowing the right people at the right places, how does that add value to a professional, to a business? What is your take on that?
So let me just share a quick example of this with a client that I'm currently working with. So he's from the lighting business, and he really tends to deal with more, architects and builders. And he decided that he wanted to get into the manufacturing space. And he decided to use his network to help him identify people who could be his distributors. And through referrals of people that already knew him well, people who trusted him, he was able to get in touch with exactly the right people. Now he has 19 distributors over 2 months, and he's generated 7.5 crores worth of new inquiries while lockdown has happened.
Wow.
And this has all happened because he's had the right network in place. And it's not only having the right network in place, but he has a high trust network. And I think that is the key that you should have. If you have that, then really having the right network is a growth and opportunity multiplier. And it doesn't matter whether you're in business or you're an individual, working somewhere. It is a growth and opportunity multiplier if you really know how to use the network. It's not who you know, but who knows you and how well they know you that really counts.
Right. So, traditionally, networking has usually been more of a face-to-face activity. You go to events, conferences, meet people, and then, you build your network. But obviously, with times changing now, people are leaning on to online networking. So, do you see any difference in these two? Is one less effective than the other?
No, I think you've got to understand the nuances between the two to be able to utilize them in the best way possible. When I first moved here to India from the UK, I started a networking organization, but I only knew one person when I moved here to India. So I had to use both offline networking and online networking because literally I had to use every networking trick in the book. And this was in early 2004 that I moved here. And at that time, the internet was very much at a nascent stage. Internet connections weren't very good. We really didn't have the kind of smartphones that we have right now. And as a result, offline networking was the main way in which people networked. But as time has gone on, what's happened is that we now have smartphones, we have amazing network connectivity. We now have 4G, 5G coming up as well. So it's become very easy to network. I think one of the things about online networking is that once you have managed to make a connection and you may have met someone offline, you are able to continue that relationship building online. And I think that's one of the ways in which people are able to utilize online networking effectively. It just helps people um, easier to stay in touch, to be found, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Also, now what's happening is that with social media, networking is a great way for you to also build your personal brand.
Right.
So people are now beginning to utilize it for all these particular ways. But I would not say that one is more effective than another. In fact, sometimes I think that it's easier to find the right people using online networks because you can be very specific in terms of the specific industry, professions, job titles that you're able to search for, particularly if you're using something like, say, LinkedIn, as opposed to, if you walk into a room of 100, 200 people, it's very difficult to know who exactly is in the room. Whereas online, you're able to do that search uh, and connect with people with precision. So say you
Right.
wanted to connect with HR heads, or you wanted to connect with entrepreneurs, or whoever it is that you wanted to connect with, then you're able to easily filter those people through the online networking platforms.
Right. So I do agree. LinkedIn is an effective platform, and we'll probably get to that in a few minutes. But what I wanted to understand is that with offline networking, I somehow feel it's easier to break the ice. So how do you
Mm,
break the ice when you are sort of starting a conversation online? um, because you're bombarded with so many communications in general, right? So
mm.
any tips on how one can
So,
go about doing that?
yes. So this is where probably your LinkedIn profile is going to come on its own. Because the thing is, typically when people do Google you, the first thing that will actually show up is probably your LinkedIn profile. So
True,
even
true.
if you're not expecting to utilize LinkedIn or be very active on LinkedIn, I would strongly suggest that you optimize your LinkedIn profile. So that means that there are a couple of key things that you need to have in place there, which is, have a good profile shot, because that's the first impression someone has. And typically, if you have a profile photo, then you can get anywhere from 9 to 27 times more traffic than if you don't have.
Oh,
You
okay.
need to make sure you have a background banner, rather than just the typical LinkedIn one, the standard one. Make sure it is optimized with, say, your company logo, who you help, how you help them, so that it helps you with your branding, because these are all the things that people are going to judge you by initially before they even really begin a conversation. This is where they're doing their kind of reconnaissance. The other thing is that your headline, professional headline, which is typically, if you look at your LinkedIn profile, it's just underneath your name. It's a series
Yes,
of words. Typically,
yes.
most people just would have their, like, say, company and address, like the job title. But what I would put here is, what are the words that you want to be found for? So think in terms of search engine optimization. If
Mm-hmm.
someone was looking at keywords, so take, for example, I'm a LinkedIn expert as well. So then, I want to make sure that I have LinkedIn expert there. Uh, Later on, I've put, I'm the CEO of Titan Masterminds, other things that are related to my company and my title. But in the professional headline, I would, make sure that I use very specific keywords to be found on. See, it's not only Google, but LinkedIn itself is a search engine. There's about 6.7 billion searches
True.
being done on LinkedIn. So, are you being found for the right things? Because people are using LinkedIn as a search engine. So, if you've optimized the headline in the right way, then you will show up for the right search. And that is the first step in networking. You've got to be visible. Okay. Then typically thereafter, people will look to build upon their credibility. Are you good at what you do? Why should I trust you? How are you different as opposed to other people in the field? Okay. And this is where the about you section can come to its own. And you can have up to 2,600 characters in that about section. And
Okay.
typically when I end up working with people, that's probably the area that they need to work on most. They have very short about you sections, or the about you section is written like a CV.
True,
And
true.
in this day and age, you've got to think in terms of, who are the stakeholders that you are looking to appeal to. So it could be customers, it could be suppliers, it could be future employees, it could be investors. So how do you come across to them? And because you can structure it in a very nice professional way, it's for many people, this has become their sort of de facto uh, personal website because it is so well optimized for search. Uh, that you will turn up on Google. So then that's what happens.
That's great.
So yeah.
So I do agree with you. Even I've seen certain LinkedIn profiles that look like CVs, which brings me to your LinkedIn profile, which is extremely impressive. It's really great. And it does mention that you founded Titan Masterclass. That's your own startup.
Titan Masterminds. Yes.
Masterminds, sorry. So could you tell us a bit about Titan Masterminds? What is that all about, and how do you go about with that business?
Yeah, I've been working with entrepreneurs for a very long time. So since 2004, I've been working with entrepreneurs and building communities with entrepreneurs. And one of the things I've noticed is that it can be a lonely journey being an entrepreneur, because typically, if you are the founder, the managing director, the CEO, any CXO type position, then you are leading the team. And, to help with the journey, if you can network and connect with like-minded people, then it actually helps in the journey. And the mastermind concept was put together by Napoleon Hill. And,
Okay.
in his book, Think and Grow Rich. So when he was interviewing all these millionaires, and one of them was Andrew Carnegie, who at that time was the richest man in America, he asked him, what is the key to your wealth? And he said that the one key to my wealth is that I am part of a mastermind. I have these 50 people around me who are constantly, who are from different walks of life, different expertise, who help me make sure that I'm making the right decisions with regard to my company and where I want to go. And so that's what we have ended up creating in Titan Mastermind. So it is not only a networking platform, but really it's helping people with accountability, where you let people know that these are your goals and you're held accountable by peer group. And then also you're able to crowdsource wisdom and expertise from these people who are experts, within their own right in their business. They have
Right.
different expertise. So, one could be negotiation, another could be marketing. Everyone has their own key strengths, and you're able to get in inputs from them to help you solve problems that you may have on your plate right now. So you're able to get real-time solutions, and you don't have to end up reinventing the wheel. There's nothing
True.
more time wasting than trying to reinvent the wheel.
That's so true. Um, and you also founded BNI, and I
Mm.
have personally attended some sessions, and I've heard of so many people who've benefited from the network. And considering you mentioned that you just knew one person from their
Yes.
network of how many now? I think it's run in lakhs.
It's
Um,
yeah. I mean, I think worldwide it's in the region of about 3 lakhs,
nice.
and here in India it's around 30,000 plus.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what were these, if you had to just summarize it in, say,
Mm.
the top five things that you did to
Mm.
take you from, say, that one point of contact to, say, the first 100 or 500, what were those five things that you did to reach there?
Five key things. The first thing was I got the pitch right, because this was an American organization. They had an American way of putting things forward. So when I moved here to India, I had to get clear about what the Indian mindset was, what was their approach to networking, how were they looking
Mm-hmm.
at things. So I had to tailor the pitch to the current market that was there. And once I got that right, then we began to get our initial traction. The second step that really helped me position myself as a credible expert is that I started writing blogs about networking,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and I started publishing that. And we started sending out, e-newsletters.
Mm-hmm.
So we started getting a lot of people reading this. People wanted to understand how to network more effectively. So, in that way, what happened was that, TV18 approached me and said that they wanted me to be their networking expert.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. That's
so,
amazing.
so yeah, so we ended up doing a series on networking,
Uh-huh.
which really positioned me as an expert. So that kind of began to drive a lot of traffic. The third thing that we really did was we looked at, again, the product that was there, and
Mm-hmm.
we tried to Indianize it.
Okay.
There's certain nuances, and even when we went into different parts of India, we found that people network slightly differently in Delhi as opposed to Bangalore, as opposed to
Uh-huh.
Mumbai.
Okay.
So we began to add these ways of doing things, in the product. So then what happened was the product adoption, the product to market fit was that much better. And then it became a hit, across these different geographies as we began
Mm-hmm.
to, move across these geographies. So I think that's important, that you've got to get your product ecosystem right. And we began to develop a number of things that were very India centric.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about it in ways like, when Domino's or McDonald's have come to India, they've had to
Yes.
change their menu, and Indianize
True.
things.
True. Yes.
So, it's just the same way. We got the product ecosystem right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth thing I would say is that we got the profiling right. So,
Uh-huh.
when people came to my website, it was
Mm-hmm.
very clear what we did in terms of what our USP was. When you looked me up on LinkedIn, and
Hmm.
I was an early adopter of LinkedIn. So
Okay.
in February 9th, 2005, I've been on LinkedIn.
Wow.
I
Amazing.
was on social media from 2008. So I was
Very
doing
nice.
workshops on that. So we understood that. So we ended up optimizing not only our website but also our
Mm-hmm.
other profiles. So then Facebook, LinkedIn. There was another online network called Academy from the UK, and then that became
Okay.
global. So
Okay.
we got all our profiles right. Then with the TV18, again we
Mm-hmm.
positioned ourselves in the right way, as a kind of national networking expert. So I think anyone who's looking to become a titan in their niche, whatever niche
Hmm.
they're in right now, is going
Mm-hmm.
to have to follow these steps. And I think the last thing is that, I found the right partnerships, which, really helped me then grow, so like take, for example, the Indian Merchants Chamber, Rotary, the Indus Entrepreneur, the Thai, many other such platforms that I found that, were dealing with the same target market, but we were doing complementary things for, our target markets. So then that really helped me uh, position myself very quickly and helped us grow. So I would say that these are the 5 things that really helped us get established and established very quickly. Because before I came into BNI and into India, I was in a manufacturing business, nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with networking. So, it was a new country and a new business, and I would say, I would swear by these 5 steps, to become a titan in your niche.
That's amazing, Neeraj. But this is this is how you went about building your BNI network. That's good. That's right. And I believe it also helps that you are a great conversationalist. I think that also is sort of how would it work for people who are sort of not out and about, not so comfortable having conversations or opinions on things. I'm just being the devil's advocate, but I'm just wondering,
Absolutely. In fact, I'm an introvert, which is
oh,
very
you don't
hard
come across at all.
No, but I'll tell you the secret to that. There are a couple of key secrets to that. Okay, so an introvert, doesn't like the spotlight on themselves.
Yes, true.
And what happens is that they're great at listening. And I always say that a great networker has 2 ears and 1 mouth and uses them proportionately. So it's very important that, you put the spotlight on the other person.
Okay.
And what happened was, when I was initially offline networking and I had to meet, I could literally go into rooms where, I didn't know anyone. And I had to start a conversation. So a couple of things that I did, first thing I did was I would always end up in that room very early. I would try and be there at least 30 minutes before the event started.
Okay.
I would introduce myself to the organizer, and I would help the organizer with setting up and say, look, I'd like to help you. And, when you end up helping someone, then it's a feeling of reciprocation. People want to typically help you back. And then I would ask them that, look, can you introduce me to some people? I'm a bit shy. I don't know who's going to be here, but, since you're the organizer, I'm sure you'll know a few good people. So I would be disarming in terms of my candidness. I say, look, genuinely, I'm a shy person, and you'd actually be helping me out. So, it's amazing how far people would go. And, many people ended up thinking that I was part of the organizing team.
Okay. Wow.
Because the organizer would kind of put so much of a spotlight on me, but it just came from this. And then, take a genuine interest, so I had a few questions up my, sleeve, which would help me start conversations, which would be things like, sir, where have you come from today? Because it doesn't matter who you are, you've come from somewhere, and it would kind of help start the conversation.
Right.
And there was a particular format that I used called FORM, FORM. And, so you kind of ask a little bit about their family, or, are you from Bombay? And, typically there are so many people from Bombay who are not from Bombay, and that again becomes a talking point. Okay. And even if they're from Bombay, you ask them where they're from, because and as I became more of a resident here, I began to understand that people from South Bombay think very differently from people from Bandra, and
True. So true.
etc.
Yeah.
etc. So even knowing which geographic locality they were coming
Yes.
from would actually give you a bit of an understanding of them. Then you'd ask them, oh, which is what's their occupation. You would ask them a little bit about relationships in terms of, like,
Hmm.
say, do you have kids, or I've
Mm-hmm.
recently got married, how about you? Are you. So
Mm-hmm.
I would volunteer a little bit of information, and then I would ask them
Right.
a question. Or what happens is that if you're able to find a couple of points of similarity, then what happens is that the barriers that are between you melt away. And it's all about building a genuine relationship, a connection with someone else. And when you have that, I think that, is the foundation of trust. And at the end of the day, people always are looking at ROI, return on investment, but I think they're focusing on the wrong thing. You can't make networking transactional. I mean, it's not that people aren't making it transactional out there, but
Right.
the people who are real pros in networking know
Mm-hmm.
that they should, you focus on ROR, which is return on relationships. First, look to
Uh-huh.
build relationships, and then you can mine those relationships and profitably grow them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I hope some of these things have helped you and understand how I was able to position myself.
Yes, and in fact, I think what you've mentioned, I'm definitely going to use that myself. It's actually very handy advice, and I have seen people, they don't understand how to break the ice. I think
Hmm.
that first point is usually a deterrent for many people, and you very beautifully explain how one can go about it. Um,
Hmm.
so before we end our session, we've spoken about the things that one should do and why networking is important. Uh,
Hmm.
is there anything that one shouldn't do when
Yeah.
looking at actively networking? What are the don'ts of it?
Sure. So, I just mentioned one of them. Don't focus on it being transactional. There's a particular formula if you really want to network effectively called VCP. It's actually a process where
Okay.
V stands for visibility. First, you've got to become visible. Someone has got to know who you are.
Hmm.
Then, you've got to become credible, which is they've got to like you first as a person. Then
Hmm.
they've got to trust you, where they feel that you are a credible expert in whatever you do. Okay.
Hmm.
And if you're able to get to that trust point, that's where then the profitability really happens. But there are people who try and jump from just going from visibility straight to profitability. It doesn't work.
Hmm.
If you miss the step in between, it's like, I'll use a relationship example here where, you meet a girl for the first time and you propose to her. You'll
Hmm.
probably end up with a slap on your face, in this
So
day and
true.
age. So, it's
Right.
like, it's if you meet someone and you think they're interesting, then you might want to ask them out for a coffee, then
Hmm.
maybe for, dinner. And then, things progress and, you might then become engaged. And then from engagement, you go to marriage, not
Right.
straight from having met someone straight to marriage. So, that's one of the things,
Hmm.
so, it's like when people meet someone at a networking event and immediately start selling to them.
Hmm.
Oh, this person looks like my customer. It's almost like they give their card and their sales pitch and, they start
Yeah.
selling,
Yeah.
very off-putting.
Yeah. So true. So true. Big
The
push.
other thing, not being strategic about who you network with. So I think typically there are two different types of people you should be networking with proactively. One is obviously the kind of people that are your end customers, but the one that people miss out on, which they should pay more attention to, is who else has your end customers.
Hmm.
So who are professions that are complementary to you that are already dealing with the kind of customers you like. Uh, and then you can end up working very nicely together with them. And that's why like one of the organizations I partnered with was Rotary, and tie, because I knew that, there were many entrepreneurs that they had in their network, which
Right.
were interested in learning about networking. So, that's one thing. And then lastly, not staying in touch.
Okay.
So stay in touch, have
Hmm.
some way in which you remain in touch and kind of cycle through your network
Hmm.
over time, so that it gives you consistency. Because if you don't have that consistency, then you don't have top of mind visibility.
Right. Right. Great. I I think that was some amazing advice. It's not just going to benefit entrepreneurs who hear our podcast, but also individuals, working professionals like myself. So Neeraj, thank you so much. I think it's been an amazing talk. I hope you had a good time as well,
Absolutely.
discussing all this. If there are any parting thoughts you would like to leave our viewers with, we'd be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key currencies of building a good network is generosity. So look to be someone who's a helpful person, who looks to make friends and makes friends for life. And in that way, you'll be able to build a network which is not only wide, but it's deep as well. So that's what I would say. Thanks, Bhavna.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been a delight having this conversation. Thank you, Neeraj.
Thanks.